every single time. Or a situation where the lights are only turned on when you need them and then turned off. What about a situation where you could expect the light to be turned on as you approach the fork of the road? And you say to yourself, I don't know which way I'm turning, but it doesn't matter. The lights will come on. At that moment, I need it, and they do. And you turn left or right because you see the correct path. Where does that come from? Now we get into the subject of enhanced intuition that is from God, is from the Creator. And that is part of that which you are studying in mastery. You want to know where it comes from? I'll tell you. The DNA is the antenna. It's always connected to the field. But the enhanced intuition is that which comes from a very sacred place. That is the place that we have told you about so many times, from your soul, you might say, where you start awakening to a bigger truth. You start to work on the cosmic connection between you and the Creator. You start receiving healing and peace and things you didn't expect, and suddenly enhanced intuition. I'm going to tell you where that emanates from. If you want to know, we've already talked about DNA, but there is one organ of the body that actually works to receive additional things that will keep those lights turned on when you need them, so you can actually plan on being intuitive, plan on having answers as you get to the issues of life. It's the pineal. And you may have heard this before. That pineal is developed as you then turn on the lights of your life. You might say that all humans are born with some kind of sight, but second sight, that comes later. That comes with practice. That comes with awakening. It's the same with intuition. Complex it is, but the beauty is this. Some intuition comes from God. The enhanced one, the one that connects to your soul, the one that keeps those lights turned on when you need it. Imagine, dear one, a time when no matter what you're working on in your life, you can relax on what's around the corner. Because in this spiritual car you're driving, that you have decided is yours and belongs to the soul, that the lights will come on when you need them to. And you will know which path to take. This is the love of God in your life. And the more you study the cosmic connections and delve into the mastery that is occurring for you, the more intuitive you will become. I am Kryon. This message is a great one, for it starts to resolve some issues for the human and make them a little more peaceful about what they can do. And so it is.
And following that wonderful cosmic connection that Kryon took us on, I invite you now to bring your awareness back into your body. And if you've had your eyes closed, I invite you to open up your eyes as we move to the next part of the program. And as we discussed at the beginning of the show, this evening we're bringing a very special guest from Australia. Tonight's guest is known personally to us, and that's because Lee has been in 2 of his films, with the most recent one called Facing Fear. Lee's joined by other keynote speakers of our time, such as Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Sister Jenna, and James Van Praagh, to name just a few. There's many more in there as well. If you're interested in that film, it's available online, facingfearfilm.com. But before we give you a trailer to that film, which is coming a little later on, Lee and I want to give you the short bio of what Bill has accomplished. And honestly, I invite you, just go and Google, type his name in, and that's where you're going to find an almost exhaustive list of films that he has been part of in many ways.
Like many of our guests who have come from highly visible and professional occupations, and this is one of them. So something happened to Bill to place him on a completely different life's path. But unlike many others, Bill had the ability, the experience, the desire, and the awards to build films around his new awareness. Something that Kryon has actually told us might happen in major filmmaking. As we speak, Bill has a hit film in Australia that is even more popular at the box office than some action thrillers being released at the same time. The film is based on his best-selling Camino memoir of the same title, The Way, My Way. It's a movie about a man who's walking the 800-kilometer Camino de Santiago pilgrimage route in Spain. Very famous walk. That man is searching for meaning, not realizing it was right in front of him, one step at a time. What has Kryon told us about the power of future heartwarming films and the eventual turn in public awareness and consciousness to these kinds of stories? Bill really is at the right place at the right time. It's truly a sign of our times. So before you meet Bill, we wish to give you a peek into his filmmaking past.
In a career spanning 4 decades, Bill Bennett has made 17 feature films as a writer, producer and director, and he's won numerous awards, both in Australia and internationally. He's perhaps best known for his comedy, starring Aussie actor Eric Bana, called The Nugget, and his cult classic film Kiss or Kill. Other films include Spider and Rose, starring the late Ruth Cracknell, and there's another one, In a Savage Land, and also Backlash. He's had 2 feature films in official selection at the Cannes Film Festival and won Best Picture at the Carlo Vivari Film Festival. He won a Creative Achievement Award at the Montreal World Film Festival and Best Picture at Italy's Film Noir Festival. So Bill's also won Australian Film Institute Awards for Best Picture and Best Director, and in his earlier working life in television, he won 2 Logies. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, a Logie, it's like the Emmy Awards in the USA, and it's a nationally televised award show called Television's Night of Nights in Australia. His films have been released theatrically through several well-known Australian outlets and internationally through the major Hollywood studios, including Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, and the Samuel Goldwyn Company. There is more. I mean, honestly, there is so much more. But right now, we want you to meet our guest and good friend, Bill Bennett. Bill, welcome to the program.
Hey, Monica, how are you? I should say g'day.
Yay.
I knew he would do that.
G'day. And look what I have in my hot little hands here. Here is the memoir, The Way, My Way, which is doing amazingly in the box office in Australia right now. Bill, when you wrote this book, did you have any idea you would be making it into a major film?
None whatsoever, Monica. In fact, when I walked the Camino, I had no idea that I would write a book. And the way the book came about was because I walked the full 800 kilometers in enormous pain. I had a very bad knee. The knee had developed during my last stages of training like a stupid idiot. I overtrained. I'm sort of that personality type, I guess. I thought a little brisk stroll up the Pyrenees would fix it. Of course, it didn't. It only made it worse. And so I got to Santiago at the end of 800 kilometers, absolutely totally confused as to why I'd done the walk. And so I came back to Australia and decided to write the book to try and find closure, in many ways, to complete the walk. And in writing the book, I had no idea that it would ever turn into a film. None whatsoever.
Wow. Okay, so here you are in that state, and now we have a film, not just a film. I happen to know that you're on your way to someplace else, and you've come from someplace else, and you're very much in demand from the media right now in interviews because of what's happened here. You have a hit film, Bill. How does that feel?
Well, Lee, I tell you what, it's the first time this has ever happened. I mean, I've had some films that have done well creatively. I've had some films that have done moderately well commercially. This is the first time that I've had a film that's gone like nuts. Um, and I think, what you said about Kryon before, I think that there's a real element of that involved in this. To a certain extent, it is the right film at the right time. Um, but what I'm finding in the reaction of the audience is that they are hungering for movies like this, which give them inspiration, which give them hope, which encourage them to take on things that they wouldn't ordinarily take on. And I think that I think there's a real zeitgeist at the moment for something like this. I mean, the interest in the Camino, this is a pilgrimage, a religious pilgrimage. The interest in the Camino is extraordinary. I've been doing Q&As, and I introduce the film, and I get out in front. And one of the first things I say is, "Hands up, who's walked the Camino?" Well, initially, in the first Q&As, about 70 or 80% of the people put their hand up, which meant that the film was appealing to the Camino audience. That's okay. And then I'd ask the second question: hands up those who want to walk the Camino. And almost the entire audience would put their hands up. Now, this is a film that in its initial Q&As was playing to audiences of 500, 700, 800 people, big cinemas. Interestingly, about 3 weeks later, I'm still doing Q&As, and I ask, hands up those who have walked the Camino. Only about 10% of the audience is putting their hands up. And I ask, hands up those who want to walk the Camino. Once again, everybody puts their hands up. What that tells me is that the film has shifted from appealing to initially Camino people now to the general public. And that speaks something, I think, about certainly about word of mouth of the film, but also I think about the interest there is in walking a pilgrimage route, which is extraordinary.
What I'd like to do right now, and I know I have your permission, is so everybody will know what we're talking about. We have a 2-minute and 30-second trailer, and we're going to play it. Welcome to Healing Wednesday in the Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
And I'm Monica Morani, and we are so excited to be doing the first Healing Wednesday program for the year 2023. So Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year again.
Hopefully everyone had a wonderful New Year's, and if not, well, from now it's going to be amazing, right?
Start over and we'll do it again.
Yeah, start with our program tonight and make it magical.
We're back every Wednesday evening of the year. We come together with special guests, questions and answers, discussions, meditations, and of course, channeling. Now, YouTube subscribers, thank you very much for watching. This is our once a month free program. Also, welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time.
And a special welcome to the members of the Circle of 12 who receive one of these programs every single week of the year. If you're not a member, but you follow Circle of 12 on YouTube, this is your 28th free program. If you are a member, this is program number 113. You can find all the other programs that you've missed from the beginning of the series with a subscription. And you can get your subscription very easy. It's cryonmasters.com and have access to this wonderful weekly program. Now, the first of the month program, we've already mentioned, it's free. That's what you're watching now. And of course, we're going to keep on delivering this. But truly, the reason that we can do that is because of our wonderful, amazing Healing Wednesday members. So right now, I want to thank all of you who have been a member both in the past, right now, the future members to come, even if it's just for a month. Every time you have contributed to us, you've made this free program possible. And what's so awesome is that for those who sign up today, not only do they get the current programs and the streams yet to come, but they get access to 100 past programs, well, over 100 now, and the library is building all the time. In addition, our members receive many, many other extras, including special videos of Lee explaining things and so much more.
And of course, the YouTube library is also growing, and it's growing. And this library here with its own playlist never expires. And you can watch these programs as long as you wish. So YouTube subscribers, please take a look at some of these great programs from the past, perhaps with some wonderful guests you may not even have heard of or know about. That'd be great, and you could view them. Of course, goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Here comes. Click the subscribe button and be a regular part of this profound and free experience.
Now, speaking of profound and free experiences, Lee and I want to tell you about a brand new series of programs that we have produced that, well, we feel they're incredibly important for humanity. The series, it's called Topics for Our Time. And this is where we delve into some very sensitive yet profoundly moving topics that have uplifting and heartwarming resolutions. Specifically, we present personal stories that highlight what many are going through. They're the things that Kryon has told us to watch for because of the compassionate action that's resulted from it. We wanted you to know about these programs since 2 episodes, they've already been broadcast and they're available right now for free. In addition, a 3rd episode is going to be coming and available later this month.
So let's start by telling you a little bit about these programs, where you can find them and view them. The very first episode features Eliza Ann McDaniel, who has written several books, but the first one was Behind Closed Doors. It's the kind of story that hides in our society, but that Kryon has told us will be revealed in this new energy, a lot of it, and we'll have healing through then that exposure. This is exactly what we are doing through airing these free programs. Eliza's story is about families that appear outwardly normal, but yet hiding beneath the surface are dark secrets, the horrific abuse of their own children. Despite such awful encounters, Eliza openly shares her story of how she overcame this in her life and went on to help so many others to do the same. In her words, forgiveness is the key to unlocking the prison of your own mind and will set you free. Her new book, or second one, with a great title. I love this one, Journey to the Heart. We honor Eliza for bringing us this information.
Now, the 2nd episode, it's the story of the Abundant Love Project, told by a personal friend of ours, Deborah DeLisi, who was actually an in-studio guest for the recording of the episode. The loss of a child, it's one of the most heart-wrenching experiences that a parent can have. So how do you deal with that? What can you do? Well, this is where Deborah tells her story that I would truly love everyone to hear about and to just see how she was able to turn her grief and sorrow into love and compassionate action that has subsequently touched thousands of lives, one at a time, all over the world. Her story is simply amazing. It's beyond anything that either Lee or I could ever have expected to happen. We'd love for you to experience her compelling story about how one ripple of kindness, it can change someone else's life. Perhaps after watching, you too may want to become an ambassador of kindness.
So the third episode is very Kryon-esque, a word that I made up, something that has been the subject of many channelings over the past years. And we want you to meet Andy Berger. Andy is the founder of Voices Against Trafficking, an international organization dedicated to the eradication of human trafficking in the United States and abroad. Andy, herself a victim of unspeakable abuse, is a highly sought-after international speaker and advocate for those who cannot speak for themselves. Her book, A Fragile Thread of Hope, One Survival's Quest to Rescue, is available on Amazon.com with 45% of the net proceeds going to victims of child abuse and sex trafficking.
And these stories, they're about the heroes of the heart. They really are champions over duality. The stories are given with love and uplifting solutions to help find peace and self-worth. So the next question is, where can we watch all these episodes of this amazing free program? Well, that's easy. Simply go to cryonmasters.com. In the top right on the menu, there's a pull-down menu called Freebies, and click on Topics for Our Time. As you scroll down the page, you'll be able to watch all the episodes. And if you're seeing this on the live broadcast today, which is January 4, 2023, the third episode with Andy Berger, it's going to be coming out this month. So stay tuned to watch for that. And while you don't have to register to view the programs, because they're free and available on that page, if you'd like to be notified about future episodes to come, well, you can sign up for notifications on that same page. Next, I'd like to move into another part of the program where I choose a quote or a saying from Kryon and I ask Lee to explain, because Spirit often talks and communicates to us in metaphors, and sometimes even though the phrase can feel like we've got it at face value, there's always little nuances and meanings behind the meanings. So I'm going to ask Lee to explain this next quote. Blessed is the human being who understands the power they really have over everyday life and occurrences. So Lee, can you explain to us about that?
Happy to.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those sleeper quotes.
It really is.
Because we talk about it all the time, but I want to do it again. It means so much more than what it appears to mean. You know, we get so many questions that I would say show underlying issues of what I'll call really programming of expectations in our life. What were you told as a kid about who controls everything around you? Well, it depends. It depends totally on your circumstances, but often, of course, as a child, it's your parents. Then as you get older, perhaps it's the government who controls you, depending on what your parents tell you. Then perhaps for some, it's your church. They really control you. I mean, you better behave or you know what's going to happen. But, you know, it's how many of us hear this. Listen, if you hear this from me, you are in control of everything around you, and what happens to you? What would you say? Well, many have already said, that's crazy, Lee. Nobody has control over things you don't know about. I mean, come on. If you don't know about them, how you can even have control over them? Well, welcome to being programmed that, quote, we're not in control, so don't even try. And that is the current programming. Somebody is always in control over you, and you can make the list yourself. That's how we're programmed, that's how we're taught. As far as being in control of what we can't see, the thing that everyone rolls their eyes in about, this whole idea that, you know, what's coming, how could you be in control of what you don't know? Well, that's the metaphysics we teach, folks, right here, all the time. Perhaps it's time to reframe what you were told. Your attitude, your expectations, your very thoughts are set up for what arrives at your door. I want to say that again. Your attitude, your expectations, your very thoughts are set up for what arrives at your door. And that phrase, arrives at your door, means what happens to you. Whoa, a lot of people right away, I'm losing. Since consciousness is energy, everyone, we have shown that, we've proved that. You create with your consciousness a setup for what happens around you. If you set up the energy of worry, then the things you worry about are going to be at your door. Want me to say that again? No. If you set up the energy of hatred or anger, that's what you're going to receive. Over and over, Kryon has told us that our conscious thought is energy. It's like a giant menu of things, and we select what then comes to the table with the waiter presenting it to you. Here's what you asked for. This is the way we live our lives, and it works. This is the way Monica and I live our lives, and it works. Some would call this power, if you want to even say that, this attribute, the power of attraction. I don't care what you call it. It works. Yet when we tell people about this, they often roll their eyes. They tell us that God would not allow it. We've heard that before. Or others are in control, so we couldn't do it. But for those people who say that, they will indeed get what they expect. So why not expect benevolence in your life or love to win out over the hatred? Kryon tells us that we have a great deal of power, almost everything that surrounds us.
We certainly do have a great deal of power, and that's what that free episode series that showcases those champions of duality really show, how we do have the power to bring love into our life and overcome our circumstances. I'd like to now take a question from one of our viewers and have Lee answer it. And this question comes from Patrick,